Hello students. So, in continuation with the structural adaptations which we were talking about, we are going to continue with the different adaptations of here. So, we will be talking about the arboreal adaptations in the animals. This is also known as scansorial, or the ability to climb, and is found in animals that live on trees or climb on rocks and walls. So, have you wondered how these animals are able to climb or run or walk on the rocks and all? The features that enable them to be best suited in this habitat are the chest, the girdles, the ribs and the limbs are strong and stout. The feet and the hands become prehensile with opposable digits like in primates or marsupials. That is, opposable is something like that, they are able to hold on to whatever they are going to climb or walk on to. And sometimes the digits are grouped as 3 digits and single 2 digits in the syndactyle, that is example of chameleon. So, if you can see over here, you can see the monkey having a prehensile foot over there or a prehensile hands over there, they are able to hold on to the different logs or trees over there. The koala, which are able to climb along with the baby on it, they are able to hold on to the baby and then climb the trees over there because of the prehensile digits that are present. And of course, even the chameleon also has that same syndactyle digits which are able to climb onto these different trees or rocks. So, for facilitating the clinging, and some have elongated claws like in squirrels. If you can see over here, the claws are being able to cling on to the trees over there, while others bear a rounded adhesive pads at the tip of the digits like the tree hyla over here. So, you can find over there in this tree hyla, you have those adhesive pads which is able to cling on or to hold on to the rough surface over there. In the wall lizard, that is Hemidactylus, you can find there are double rows of lamellae in the ventral side of the digits for creating vacuum to cling. So, this enables the animals to move even on the smooth surface, or it is able to walk even upside down without falling. That is the reason why they have these double rows of lamellae which is able to cling on like a vacuum. Others often the tail becomes prehensile in chameleon and of course in monkeys. Now, coming to desert adaptations. Desert adaptation, you must have found that desert is so harsh living, that is, the temperature is very extreme over there, no water conditions, there is no water at all over there, very few water even if you find them, but still there are some animals living in those conditions over there. So, how are these animals able to adapt into this desert conditions? The mode of life in extreme terrestrial habitat is the desert plants, for example, the xerophytes, and the animals are called as xerosils. They show adaptations for 3 challenges, that is getting moisture, conserving moisture and defending oneself from the biotic and abiotic factors. Now, how are they able to get the moisture and conserve the moisture? Many of these adaptations are just physiological and behavioral. Different plants and animals adopt different mechanism to procure enough water. For example, the sand lizard, that is a moloch over there, you can see over here, the sand lizard and horned toad have hygroscopic skin to absorb moisture like the blotting paper even from unsaturated air. That is the hygroscopic, hygro is waterscopic, that is they are able to absorb whatever the limited water is present in the atmosphere, they are able to absorb into their skin, and that is the reason why they have this rough skin over there. That is, this rough skin does not allow the water to escape from its body outside. So, that is how they are able to conserve them. And the kangaroo rat, you can see over here the kangaroo rat. Why the name of a kangaroo rat? Because if you can see the hind limbs over there, they resemble like that of a kangaroo over there. They keep jumping, they do not move, but they keep jumping like a kangaroo. So, the name the kangaroo rat. They fulfill its water needs from the metabolic synthesis. Others satisfy the water needs through the food they consume. Desert animals prevent water loss from their body by reducing surface area, making skin impermeable through its thickening and hardening, as well as through the presence of scales and spines, like in the phyrosoma and the mollusk that we saw in the lizard and the frog. The reducing number of sweat glands in the mammals avoid the day heat and become active at night, because avoiding the day heat means you are going to avoid sweating, and becoming active at the night is the temperature is going to be cool, so you are not going to lose any water. The excretion also has some specific adaptation, that is this excretion is usually dry solid pellets. Some desert animals store water in their body and use it economically. Now, the good example is a camel, how they are able to adapt itself in the desert. If you can see the picture over here, the camels usually have a hump over there. The usual thinking is that the hump is where the water is being stored, but that is not true. In the animals, the hump, the fat is stored in the hump over there. This fat acts as a food reserve. Whenever the animal does not have enough water and food, from the hump the fat is going to be used up in the metabolic pathway so that it can use its food, and that is the reason why the camels never get tired. That is why they are called as sheep of the desert. Then how are they going to store the water? They are going to store the water in the RBCs, the blood cells that they have, and of course the whole part of the tissue. Whenever they drink water, the camels are going to drink gallons and gallons, almost 100 liter at a stretch they can drink, but still they will not bloat and die. If you do the same thing, humans, we are going to die because you are going to bloat and die. But the camels, the RBCs are going to take the excess water, store in them and to expand themselves. The single RBC is going to expand double its size so that they can store the water and use them in a later stages. They have a long intestine wherein the water retention also is occurring so that there is no loss of water. The pellets are dry. They have proper long eyelashes so that the eyes are being protected from the heat and the dust. They also have long legs, you can see over the long legs, that is to escape the heat from the sand. They have those long legs. The legs also have the padded foot over there. The padded foot helps them not to sink in the sand of the desert. Even though they carry heavy weight, they are not sinking in the sand. Otherwise, you can see a human walking, they are going to sink inside that sand. But these camels cannot sink because they have those padded foot, they do not sink and they walk very easily. And they also have a small pinnae, the nostrils are slit long and they have flaps to cover them up thoroughly. They also have a very leathery tongue. You must have seen the camels eating thorny leaves. Nothing happens to them. Why? Because they have those leathery tongue. So, there is no tearing of their tongue. So, they are able to eat it properly, and gallons of water at a stretch they can eat, they can drink and they can survive in the desert. So, this is an adaptation of a camel. Now, jackrabbits, there are other than camels, you also have different animals over there, something like the jackrabbits, that is the leopards, the foxes and other large, they also have large pinnae. If you can see in the picture over there, they have those large pinnae, the ears, which facilitate them to radiate heat without having to lose the moisture. Coloration and behavior allow the animal to harmonize with the desert surrounding. Now, for example, the sand colored and a rough skin phyrosoma, on detecting threats, digs in the sand to obliterate the body contour and to harmonize in the background. So, they just have to dig inside the sand and they stay camouflaged within the sand. Position of venom is for self defense, and almost all desert snakes and spiders are poisonous. So, that is one way of protecting themselves. Now, there is one more bird called sand grouse that carries water in its feather. How? Mostly in desert, the sand grouse has special feathers on its belly that can soak small quantities of water. It then carries back to the nest, and this is a classic example of ecological adaptation in the animals. So, the sand grouse are also found in the deserts. Volant adaptations. Volant adaptation refers to adaptation for the aerial mode of existence. Fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds and mammals among vertebrates and insects among invertebrates exhibit volant adaptations. The development of specialized organs for flying is a primary requirement. Body of a volant animal must be light and rigid, and during flight, continuous supply of energy and power to the muscles is necessary. Animals are also required to acquire speed. Moreover, balancing and navigation of the body during flight should be well integrated. So, you have two types of flight: active or true flight, passive or gliding flight. So, we will be talking about these two. Passive flight. In the passive type of a flight, animals jump from a high point like a hilltop, treetop, etc. and come down to the earth due to gravitational force. So, here they are not exactly flying, but they are just using their patagia to glide and come down. So, during their downward journey, they cover a horizontal distance with the help of some sustaining organs. And what are these organs? The wings are made up of patagia, which cannot move up and down by the muscular action like a bird, but they are just straight horizontal. So, this type of flight is performed by a number of arboreal animals like a flying fish, flying frog, flying dragon, birds like ostrich, mammals such as flying phalangers, flying squirrel, flying lemur, etc. So, these are the phalangers over there, the flying phalangers over here, the flying lemur and a squirrel, which are able to fly with the help of the patagia. So, this is a patagia. This patagia is not made up of muscles, but just the extended skin over there. So, that is the reason why they are passive flyers. So, there are two types of passive flight over here, parachuting and gliding type. In the gliding type, you can see over here the enlarged pectoral fin. So, the exocetus, the fish, the flying fish, you can see over there. The flying fish possesses very large and highly developed pectoral fins. They are used as parachutes to glide in the air above the water surface. The lower large lobe of the caudal fin over here, if you can see the caudal fin over there, the lower large caudal fin over here helps in leaping by accelerating the speed. So, that is the reason why they are able to swim in the water, that is, they are just going to accelerate the speed. Now, development of patagia. The patagia is a fold of skin present between the forelimbs and the hind limbs. You can see the forelimbs and the hind limbs. So, patagia is present in between the forelimbs and the hind limbs, and in the flying lizards, the patagia extends on either side of the trunk and is supported by 5 to 7 pairs of long ribs. We are talking about the flying gecko over there. This is a flying lizard in which the lateral expansion of patagium extends along the neck over there, the body over here, the tail also have this patagia, even the limbs you can find, and of course between the toes. All this helps in gliding of the gecko over there. And you also find sometimes there are flying snakes. And how are they able to fly? The leap by the concave ventral side of the body of this. So, the concave ventral part of the body over there in the snakes helps them to fly in the sky. So, this is a flying snakes. Webbed feet. Other than that, you have in the flying frog, the webbed feet helps in long leaps among the trees, and the webbed feet serves to increase the area of the supporting column of the air and also partly checks the speed before landing to reduce the impact. That is, if they are going to jump very fast on the ground, they are going to break their bones. So, this webbed feet are able to help them to land very softly onto the ground. The digits terminate into adhesive pads, which helps in sticking to the smooth surface. So, these are the pads which helps in sticking to the smooth surface. Now, coming to active or true flight. So, this is an active flight or a true flight that you find in some insects and of course in the birds. So, it involves long and sustained flight through the air. It implies power. The true flyers move the wings with varying degree of rapidity. True flight is seen in birds, bats and insects. Though the flight organs in all the groups are wings, their structure varies greatly. So, when you are talking about the insects wings are made up of cuticle strengthened by the thickenings called the veins. Now, if you can see over here in these wings, you have those thickening called the veins, which helps the insect's wing to fly. Typically, there are two pairs of wings developed on the dorsolateral side of the meso and the metathoracic segment. So, if you can see over here the meso and the metathoracic segment, you have these wings over there, and in diptera only a mesothoracic wings are developed. Now, we are talking about the bat wings are modified forelimbs. So, the modified forelimbs over there is the wings in the bats over there. The humerus is well developed and the radius is long. So, you can see over here the humerus is well developed, the radius is long and curved, while the ulna over here is vestigial, very small ulna. The pollex or the thumb is free and clawed for crawling and climbing. The petachia is supported by elongated second, third, fourth and the fifth digits over here. So, that is the reason why they are able to fly. That is about the bat wings, which is a modified forelimbs. Now, when you are talking about the bird wings are also modifications of the forelimbs, but with reduced digits. So, they do not have those digits, but they are reduced over here. They represents the most specialized wings among the modern wings. The feathers of the flight are borne on the arm and the hand, forming well expanded wings. The sternum or the breastbone is well developed for the attachment of the flight muscles. Remember, they need a good amount of muscles so that they have the energy to fly. And in the bird, it is keeled over there. So, you can see the shape over there. This is the keeled breastbone. And the wings over here, you can find well developed humerus, the radius, the ulna over there, and of course, the development of the wings over there. Specifically strong flight muscles are present in these birds, so that they are able to fly at a very high amount of height over the ground level. Now, what are the other features of the birds that makes them to fly so efficiently is the body is made up of light, especially in the birds due to the presence of pneumatic bones. Pneumatic is the air filled bones, that is, if you can see the difference over here. Now, this is the bone of a human where you have the bone marrow present inside, whereas in the birds you have those air sacs wherein you have those air filling called as pneumatic bones. And the reduction of the internal organs is also very important. Here the ovary, the oviduct are found only on the right side. Even the urinary bladder is very much small, so that does not store much of the urine, and time and again it is better to throw them out rather than carrying them and flying them in the sky. So, the reduction of internal organs is also important. As you can see over here, there are ovary and the oviducts only on the right side of this birds over there. And of course, the presence of air sacs in the body, you can see there are different types of air sacs, the cervical air sacs, the interclavicular air sac over there, the anterior thoracic, the posterior thoracic air sacs present over here, which helps them to fly in the air. And the presence of light feathers covering the body also aids in the flight of these birds. So, these are some important adaptations in the birds for them to fly. And in the birds, the optic lobe of the brain is highly developed, correlating with which eyes are also large to ensure good sense of vision, because they are going to fly high. You say that the birds have the bird's view or the bird's vision, where they have to see what is present on the ground from above at a height over there. So, to overcome the sudden change in the air pressure, the eyes bears a characteristic sclerotic plates over there, and also comb like vascular and pigmented structure over here. You can see over there that is the pectin over there. So, these are the sclerotic plates like a comb like structure, and also pigmented structure which is called as pectin, and this regulates the fluid pressure within the eyes, so that the pressure is controlled and the eyes are not spoilt over there. The conversion of the forelimbs into the wings in the birds is compensated by the presence of toothless horny beaks. You can see the toothless horny beaks and long flexible neck, which is able to catch hold of the prey and eat them. So, because they do not have hands or forelimbs like humans, that is compensated with the help of the horny beaks over there, which is able to catch hold of the prey and eat them, and of course, they also have a long flexible neck. So, what is this adaptations and why it is important for the species? Every organism has a natural habitat which is a home to the organisms, and this is where the basic needs of organisms like food, shelter, water and other needs are met. All organisms need to adapt to their habitats to be able to survive. And an adaptation is a change to the structure or behavior of the organism which helps them to survive better in the habitat. So, this means the organisms will have to adapt to the climatic conditions, predators, compensate for the same resources with the other organisms living in that particular habitat. So, this is what we were talking about in habitat or the ecological habitation, where we saw different types of adaptations the animal had to use so that they can survive in this environment. Otherwise, what would have happened? If they don't have these specific adaptations, they would not be able to survive in this harsh ecological condition, and they might eventually get extinct, is what happened to some of the animals which got extinct, because they were not able to adapt itself to the changing ecological conditions. And of course, if there are same species, they have to fight for the same place, same food and same shelter. So, they have to adapt itself. That is what we can see over here. Some are those that are burrowing type of animal, some are arboreal, some are the terrestrial ones, which have their own type of adaptation to survive in this world. And of course, with the help of mimicry, we also saw how they mimic itself. That is, we saw the Batesian mimicry and also the Mullerian mimicry, where the animals mimic each other so that they can survive, protect themselves from the predators, and they can survive. And of course, if they all are going to protect themselves from the predators, what are the predators going to eat? So, the predators also have their own type of adaptation, wherein they have adapted themselves for fast running, or they have very good vision, or they also have very good beaks or sharp beaks, so that they can catch hold of the prey and eat them. So, this is what each and every adaptations are to be seen in different organisms and how they survive in this ecological conditions. So, in conclusion of these adaptations, we will quickly again go through what all we have done, because we have talked about so many adaptations. I will just conclude briefly what all we talked about. First thing we talked about was the structural adaptation. Under structural adaptation, we talked about coloration or camouflage, where the animals can camouflage itself. Camouflage is how they are going to blend itself within its surrounding, is what is called as camouflage, where the other animals are not able to view them because they are getting camouflage within its surroundings. So, that is one way of protecting itself, which is also called as cryptic coloration. Why cryptic coloration? Why? This is because a part of defense mechanism or tactic to disguise itself within the surroundings. So, that was one type we saw. Then we also saw about how mimicry had been undergone, that is how each and every one species trying to mimic another species is what is called as mimicry. Now, here you call it as a model and a mimic. What is a model and a mimic over there when you are talking about mimicry? The animal that mimics a different species is called a mimic. This mimicking another species is called as a model. So, a mimic actually copying the other animal is called as a model over here. So, you have a mimic and a model, where the model is a standard one. This standard is being copied by another species, that you call it as mimic. So, a mimic and a model. So, here in the mimicry we talked about Batesian mimicry and the Mullerian mimicry. In the Batesian mimicry we talked about how the harmless creature or a harmless individual trying to mimic a harmful individual is what is called as a Batesian mimicry. And in a Mullerian mimicry, both are harmful, both have the same type of a color, that is mimicking each other, complementing each other, so that the predator do not eat them or prey on them, so that they are able to help each other. So, that is called as a Mullerian mimicry, a Batesian and a Mullerian mimicry. We saw the examples over there of the scarlet king snake and a coral snake, where the scarlet king is going to mimic the coral and so on and so forth, so that they can protect themselves from the different types of organism. Then we talked about even the Peckhamian mimicry, where we saw the example of an anglerfish, where it gives some message, which the message is read by the harmless insect as a simple one, so that they go near them and the insect the fish is able to catch hold of the prey. So, that is a Peckhamian mimicry. And also we talked about the tortoise alligator turtle, where the mouth moves like that of a worm, and prey, without understanding its danger, they go near them and the turtle is going to catch hold of them and eat them. Then in a aposematic coloration, the animal is already giving a signal, a warning signal, don't come near me. How? They are going to give that bright colors. You must have seen some insects having this bright orange color, bright black orange color or blue color, which tells them do not come near me, or we are going to be very dangerous. So, aposematic coloration, the same way where the insect shows the hind part of the body lifting like that of scorpion. So, that is done by different types of beetles over there. And Wasmannian mimicry is where the strong ones are going to take shelter in the harmless ones. For example, we talked about the beetles taking shelter within the animal, the ant nest, where they are given protection, they are giving food, everything is taken care of them. That is called as Wasmannian mimicry over there. Then also in the structural adaptation, we talked about how the legs are bent, the animals legs are, the hind legs are being bent, they are able to move fast, or they are able to run very fast away from the predators. The same way even the predators also have the bent hind legs, so that they are able to move fast to catch hold of the prey. So, it should be both ways, so that even the predators survive in the environment, and of course, even the prey also survives in the environment. Then we talked about the teeth, how the teeth are flat and which are able to grind the leaves, and also how the predators have those sharp teeth, the canines, the felines having the sharp teeth which are able to catch hold of the flesh and tear them away. So, that is one type of adaptation. And of course, the body structure where the prey have two eyes on the either side, so that they can see on either side, the left and the right side, and the predators having a straight eye, so that they can view the prey and catch hold of them very easily. Then you also talked about the behavioral adaptations, where in a behavioral adaptation we talked about the hibernation, we talked about even the warning calls, the hunting in packs, and of course the migration. Migration has to be done. Why? Because the birds that are living in a very cold condition move from one place to another warmer places where they get food to eat and survive. And you also find some fishes, they move from ocean to the brackish water during reproduction. So, they produce the eggs over there, and then they come back to the ocean again. They swim thousands and miles only to safeguard the young ones over there. They lay their eggs over there in the brackish water. And of course, you also found hibernation, where winter sleep usually is found in some animals to avoid the harsh winter. They eat a lot before the winter comes, and then they stay inside their shelter without moving, so that they can compensate for not eating anything during those period. And of course, we also saw some animals living in groups, where it works like a protection from the predators over there. When they are moving in groups, they have too many eyes to view if any danger is coming towards them. And of course, even the predators, they move in packs, so that once they eye one particular prey, the whole group is going to pounce on that prey, and they are going to catch hold of that prey and eat, and they are going to have a feast on that day. So, that is one way of living. And of course, the intelligence of the chimpanzees and different other animals, where the usage of the tools, you can very easily see how the tool is being used to insert into the bark holes, so that they can catch hold of the termites. They are going to fish the termites or the ants, all the termites and the ants sticks onto the stick, and then they are going to eat it very easily. We can also see this type of tool use even in the crows, where they try to put each stone into the bottle to fill up the water on top, and the crows can easily drink that water. So, that is one way of usage of the tools, the intelligence in these animals over there. And also the playing dead tactic of the possums and the snakes, where they fall dead because some predators, they do not like dead animals, they do not like to eat the dead animals because it is already stinking. So, they do not come near the dead animals. So, some animals act as though they are dead and even emit some chemicals which resembles the dead animal smell, and the predators just leave them and move away. The moment the predator moves, they just jump back to life and they run away. So, that is one way of adaptation. And of course, the physiological adaptations, we saw how the snakes produces venom, because these are some metabolic or biochemical adaptations, where they have to produce some poisonous venom to protect themselves, because these are crawling ones on the land, and they have to protect in some way or the other. So, they have this physiological physiochemical adaptations like production of venom, it can be production of the sting, spider sting or the bee sting, which can give us the poison. And of course, another adaptation is how they can safeguard the water by urinating very less, and dry pellets are being formed. That is also one way of metabolic adjustments over there. And some mammals, they are unable to run fast, or they are unable to fight. So, what they do is they produce a completely distinct odor, a very dirty smell which comes from the body, so that the predator runs away from that smell. So, this type of animals are called the skunks, which produce that disgusting smell which comes out of them. And co-adaptation, of course, we talked about how the hummingbird, having that long beak, they are able to take the nectar from the tubular flowers, wherein the other birds are not able to go inside, or even a bee cannot go inside the flower. This hummingbird can easily take away the nectar from the tubular flower, and by doing so the pollen is also rubbed on them, and this pollen is being carried away from one flower to another flower, helping in pollination. So, that is called co-adaptation. And of course, we talked about aquatic adaptations over there, where there are different types of plants which have adapted itself to the environment of the water, where we saw emergent rooted plants like the water lilies. We also see some submerged rooted plants like the hydrilla, and also the planktons like diatoms, and also the floating plants like the water hyacinth. How they are able to survive in the water, that is the floating plants or the water hyacinth, they have this rubbery texture on their surface, so that the water is not able to soak inside and decay the plants. They are able to survive in them. The hydrilla also has the same thing. And similarly, there are some animals which may be benthic, occurring in the bottom of the water body, or pelagic, which are occurring on the water body itself. And these animals may live partially or permanently in the water, and they have some specialized adaptations wherein they are able to dwell in that particular water without any problem. So, in this aquatic, we saw primary aquatic animals and also the secondary aquatic animals, where we talked about the ancestors which were living in the water itself, and they continued to live in the water, specifically the fishes over there. These are the primary aquatic animals. And in the secondary aquatic animals, there were some ancestors which were lung breathing land animals. They migrated to the water because they were not having enough space over there, so they tried to live in the water. So, that is the secondary aquatic animals. And we also saw what are the different adaptations that they had in the fishes. They have that streamlined body which they are able to swim in the water very easily, and they can move against the water current because of the body over there. And they also have those fins which are able to swim in the water, and the caudal fin which helps them in movement from one position to another position over there. And of course, we talked about the bladders in the fishes, which will helps them to survive and give that buoyancy in the water. And in the terrestrial adaptation, we saw fossorial adaptations, which are burrowing type of animals, and we also saw the cursorial adaptations, which helps in running on the land. And also we saw about the arboreal one, which live only on the plants, how they are able to survive on the plants. And of course, we also saw the desert adaptations. We had talked enough about desert adaptations, and also we also talked about the volant adaptations, that is the true flights and passive flight is what we talked about. In passive flight, we saw how they have those patagia to glide, act as a parachute and glide in the air, and active flight in the birds over there. So, these are the different types of adaptations that we find in the environment, and how these animals have adapted themselves to its surroundings and its environment, and how they are able to survive without getting extinct. And to some extent, even the genetics also plays an important role over here, because of the mutations, as we talked about the mutations which are very sometimes good and sometimes bad, and also the natural selection, that is the survival of the fittest. Thank you so much.